This is Rock Leach with Social Fire. And of course, y'all know we still on it. We still talking about it. But I've got a very interesting show for you today. We're going to talk about all the things with this Joni Lamb, this Daystar, this NRB security detail that walked out Pastor Ray Curry. I've got a great special guest for you, and we're going to talk about it. Y'all, I think that there are conversations that are not being had that need to be had. Believe me when I say you don't want to miss this video. Now, I've got our guest today. I'm very happy to have Everett with us from Ohio, from Freedom. Y'all know the man with the plan. He's a great person, does great content over there. Everett, let me say from the bottom of my heart here at Social Fire from our team and everybody, thank you for accepting this conversation, this interview, to be over here, a part of this. And thank you for being a part over here.
It wasn't even a thought press, brother, Pastor Leach. It's an honor and a privilege, and I really appreciated when you came on. And the surprise thing that we did, I think that was pretty cool. But we're all in this together, and it's a privilege to be here. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
So you don't mind if we just go ahead and jump straight into the content, right? Let's go ahead and get it.
Let's go. Let's go.
You all know Pastor Ray Curry is a friend of ours. I'm not going to say a friend of mine. He's a friend of ours. And yeah. I know that Everett, you were there at the actual moment when everything happened. You were the one, because one of the things that I think is probably the most effective thing that happened is that off the back, when you saw Shannon Kelly, you said immediately, how's the tracker business going? Now that was hilarious to me, but he was the one putting trackers on Jonathan's car. He was the one, right?
Oh, absolutely. And, none of us, Pastor Leach, none of this was planned. The only thing that was planned was that Pastor Ray, Laura Lynn Thompson, Tyler Thompson, myself, and that Jonathan, we would be there at the same time. But we didn't know who was going to be there or what. I think it was Jonathan that got the text. Oh, looks like Shannon Kelly and my sister are here. And then we saw him. So we walked over there. And then what happened is what happened.
Right. I know that you said the thing about him with the tracker, how's the tracker business. And, then, of course, to deflect, he called Pastor Ray Curry. Instead of addressing you, I believe he just went to Pastor Ray Curry and called him me, like we all look alike. That's the trope, the undertone there. But you stayed the whole time, even when Pastor Ray Curry was walked out. Now, I do want to get into it because we got some information that we want to give you that, of course, Ohio for Freedom. I'm grateful you with this information that you've given us. And if you don't mind elaborating on some of these things here, because we talk about security, sure. And y'all, I'm going to share with you all just for y'all, just to preface you want to put your seatbelt on, because we finna go down through there. Now, in church, big ministries, we have security, they got bodyguards, and some people will try to give them a church name and call them armor bearers. They get that from the scripture. They'll try to give them a spiritual name. But you had something on your channel that I thought was very interesting. And I'm going to quote from your channel what you actually had, which was 95% of big time ministry bodyguards' job is to make sure they never have to interact with ordinary people such as congregants, supporters, and especially journalists. Could you elaborate on that?
Well, it's an anonymous source that I know quite well. We've spent a lot of time talking, and they wish to remain anonymous, but I could say some of the largest names in big time Christian ministry, media ministry, worldwide, private jets, stay in really expensive places, and organization, a lot of experience, years and years, told me that, if you're a big name and maybe 20,000 people will show up, there is the element that you got to protect them from the one crazy person in the state. But 95% of their job is to make sure that they never get approached and never have to talk to somebody that is ordinary, especially a journalist. So I'll just say this real quick.
Go ahead.
Well, let me say, so his job there was not to protect Rachel Lamb. His job is to make sure that she don't go talking to nobody.
Okay.
or anybody can talk to her. That's what he was. She was not being protected. She was being handled.
That is interesting. That is interesting. I know you brought up as well, because this whole security thing, because y'all, we're getting ready to get into this security and actually who these security guards are. And this information was given to me by Ohio Freedom. So I'm grateful for all your subscribers and those investigators that you have over there, because I didn't have this information. And I appreciate you for allowing this to be, I guess, released here. But when all of this happened, you had two security guards, because I believe they were contacted by Shannon Kelly. Was he the one reached out, or was it Steve, Deacon Ballcap? Who was it?
No. Okay. And remember, I was there day one. Day two, I was out shooting some video that'll be pretty interesting when we show it to everybody. But I was there for day one, which was the day that Pastor Ray was escorted out. And if you look at any video of the second exchange, there were two exchanges.
Right.
And the second one, Pastor Ray, Laura Lynn's husband, JT, and myself, we're all hanging back. We're not even paying attention. Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson's having a conversation with Rachel, but remember, Rachel ain't supposed to be talking to nobody. So you can literally see Shannon Kelly reaching over Rachel's shoulder and waving at somebody. And the somebody that responded to that wave was Jason French, or Jacob French, who I call Skinhead. And then the taller, skinny guy was wearing a badge that said Scott A, but we've since figured out that he is Scott. Last name starts with a B. Okay. But Shannon Kelly was waving them over. Yes.
Okay. So this gentleman that I have on the screen is that you were calling by a very illustrious name.
That would be. Yeah. And I apologize. I'm dealing with a little bit of freeze up here, so I'm just going to, I hope I'm not over speaking, but the gentleman on the screen is the guy that I called in my video Skinhead, because he acted like a skinhead. But anyway, his name is Jacob French. And this was discovered by people in the audience, and they found it pretty quick. So if these people think they can hide, they can't. But they have a security firm called Centurion Defense. And this is Jacob French, the president. Looks like they started in 2016 is the president.
Now, let me ask you this. Does he ever change that jacket? Because I just noticed that just off the bat. He had the jacket on here. He had the jacket on here. And then he had the jacket on when he was ushering Pastor Ray Curry out. The only thing that I see different is that he was smaller here. And when he – so the jacket –
Back then, the clothes fit. Back then, the clothes fit. Jacob, if your company's working and it's paying you some money and you're doing all that, maybe you need to – dude, if you fattened up, just buy a fatter jacket. But the skin tight jacket on a fat man don't make him look muscular. Okay.
Right. That is correct. I'm looking at this and I'm knowing that, when he walked, because I've been calling him over here Deacon Smedium Jacket. That's what we've been calling him here, because that jacket clearly, if y'all look at the video where he was standing there eyeballing. Now, here's the thing. He's actually the president of this Centurion Defense Solution, this security firm. Right. He's the president of that. So the president, I want to speak to that just for a moment. We're looking at someone who should have knew better than out of everybody to pick out the only person of a hue that was in that group. He should have knew better. Wouldn't you say that?
Absolutely. And, we've tried to be delicate, but the thing is, by now we're not being delicate anymore. This was very racist. Absolutely 1000% racist. And yes, he should have known better. But here's another thing. See, I want us to, I hope that we see this through several different lenses. And one of the lenses is, let me just say this, Pastor Leach. Pastor Ray, myself, and Laura Lynn, we had every bit as much right to be at that convention as anybody. And Daystar, let this cat out of the bag. Daystar is not even a full-fledged member of the National Religious Broadcasters. For one thing, they can't be. Why? Because they do not show transparent financials. So the whole Evangelical Council of Financial Accountability, or whatever that is, they aren't a part of that. They can't be a part of that because they don't want to show you what they're doing with their money. We all had equal right to be there. And I apologize for getting windy, but
No.
I could not. If Rachel Lamb was bothering me with that Minnie Mouse voice of hers, or I just didn't like those I Dream of Jeannie pants, I could not have waved over to Jacob French and Scott B and said, get over here, or you need to deal with that lady. It doesn't work that way. But Daystar thinks it works that way, and evidently Jacob French was okay with that arrangement.
So you mean to tell me that they have authority and they not full-fledged memberships because of how they handle their money, and the lens of allowing people, the lens of transparency is what is excluding them from being members, but they still have power there? I mean, is that what you're saying? Because that's bad.
Well,
that's real bad.
I mean, you can see it on display. They have power to exercise their will. So look, this wasn't a Daystar event. This was a National Religious Broadcasters event.
Yes, sir.
So the contract for security would have been between NRB and defense, these defense, Centurion Defense Solutions.
Mm-hmm.
But we can see it's out there for the world to see that Daystar Shannon Kelly was able to manipulate Centurion Defense, the hired NRB leader or defense people, security people. He was able to manipulate them according to their will. And what I'm saying is Daystar is not even a full-fledged member of NRB because of financial accountability. So that ain't right. So any power that they had, this is real important. Any power that they had to manipulate the hired security is through the good old boys system.
Come on.
Or the mega ministry media mafia system.
You said it great. Listen, Everett, I'm going to go ahead and give this to you because that was... I believe that we will try to, make this an okay thing to some degree. Maybe they weren't looking at that. Maybe that you're calling it out as racism like I have over here. But we have to also look at how this money and this power, even with not being a full-fledged, this is terrible that Daystar has this dumpster fire called Daystar can do this. I mean, that good old boy system. And then we don't want to talk about that. That's an elephant in the room. But I want to go even further here. Let's look at how Jacob French, who's the president, y'all, this public information, looking at this, it says Jacob is an accomplished leader with over 10 years of experience in the U.S. Army and Department of Defense. Now I know that when it comes to this race thing and stuff like that, we can't do it. Or when we send our boys, our young men, our uncles and women over there to fight, it don't matter about your race over there. So we can say that this is specifically Jacob French, and he's the leader. I thought the other brother was the leader. He's the leader. This is crazy. Said specializing, I want to go further, specializing in military operations, security, and personnel management. You mean to tell me all these years of experience and he resorted to racist tactics? Absolutely appalled.
Yes, 1,000%. And then can I just point something else out?
Yes.
I thought if you were, and by the way, everybody that has served in the military, thank you, and we appreciate your service.
Thank you for your service. Yes.
This guy's resume isn't any more impressive than anybody else that served in the military. But, that's not, so he's nothing, he's no more special as a military person than lots of people that I know and that you know. But I thought that if you were in the military, you kind of understood something called chain of command and authority structure. And Shannon Kelly, the guy with one half of one oar in the water and the circular boat, is not the chain of authority.
Right.
Pal.
Right. So I think that now we're putting it out here. This is the president of the Centurion defense solution, and that is public information. You can do whatever you want to with this public information if you want to email or different things like that, because this should not have happened. And I'm glad that we're bringing this out because I need other businesses to know that this kind of foolishness is going on. This is the president. You all, this is the president.
Yeah.
You know, I'm telling all the world, this guy here is the president. And we saw how he was looking at Ray Curry. Did you see that part right there on the video where he was sitting there just looking him up and down? He was he should know better. He should know better. Let me go to the next person, the vice president, because Pastor Ray Curry got this treatment from the upper echelon of this Centurion defense. Let's go to the next guy here. So this guy here is I'll let you talk about it. This is Scott Bradshaw. Can you talk about this guy here? He's the other guy that was there.
Okay, he is the guy that is a little taller, a little skinnier, a little grayer now than that picture, but he's the one that stood up and like inserted himself right in front of Laura Lynn, very unprofessional, very rude, had a real rude exchange with Laura Lynn, but then Laura Lynn kind of circled around and was talking to Pastor Ray and to Jonathan and saying, wow, like, this guy's a piece of work. And then it was over. And there's video that I've shown that you can see, it's out there, where the president he's walking away. His back is to the situation. Like, right. I'm done. It's over. We're walking away. This guy here, this Scott Bradshaw guy, is like 3/4 of a turn away. And you can hear Pastor Ray say, keep it moving.
Right.
And this guy whips around like that's a cardinal offense. I just want to say this, if I can, Pastor Leach. I'm sorry for going long. No. I got only a couple of snarky comments that say, well, what Pastor Ray should have done. Let me say this. There ain't no should.
Right.
This be America, y'all. And if Pastor Ray wanted to walk around saying oogity boogity oogity blah, 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 if he wanted to be talking crazy or there ain't no should. He can say, do, as long as he's not hurting somebody, he can say whatever he wants to say. There ain't no should. But all he did say was keep it moving. And you can't even tell from the video if he was addressing that to those guys or just making an observation. And then I'll just say this, and I know, and the American people know that if I'd have looked right at this skinny, if I'd have looked right him in the face and I said, okay, keep it moving, wouldn't nothing have happened? Why? Because we're in America. But he thought, and so there's two things going on. They wanted all of us out. They wanted the exchange with Rachel done, but in their racist minds, they thought they could maybe get away with escorting our brother Pastor Ray out. That's what happened. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Everett, once again, this. I'm actually giving the applause because you didn't hit me in my spirit. I could be outraged even more, and I was shaken. This did challenge me a lot because this very well could have been me, as I look at with any person of another race who's done wrong or even killed or harmed because of their race. Everett, the fact that you are standing here, I'm quite sure you're sitting, but you're here saying what you're saying, which is the absolute truth, that he should have had the right, as anybody there, to go around there and say it. You're calling it out 100% correct. Now, I will say this, I'm going to be very transparent here. I am deliberately making sure that I don't go too hard on the race card, because I believe that many times African Americans can put the race card out there incorrect. I'll just say that.
Sure, I understand.
And everything is not a race issue. I want people in the comments, everybody to know that I don't believe that everything is a race issue. Just like I don't vote for somebody just because they're black. Right. But evil is evil. Wrong is wrong. And I'm looking at this when we were all made in God's image, but
Right.
somewhere along the way, we decided to see the image of what we want, what we like. And you are absolutely right. And I'm grateful because I really feel like God is using this to really unify us because
Oh, yeah.
you're here calling it out. And I'm a person who don't mind talking. Let me be real with you. I will say I don't mind a fight. But Everett, you talking like me and you are, cousins, nephews, like you black and I'm white. I mean, this is y'all. Bear with me just for a moment.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the thing that I loved when I saw in the video that Laura Lynn did because she told this other brother here. She said, "Is this some sort of racist thing?" She was the first one to call it out, and
Yeah.
he said, "Are you serious?" Yes, she's serious. That means that if it wasn't racist, you allowed it to look like it. And
Right.
perception, if unchecked, is reality. You should have, in that moment, if it wasn't racism, showed her that it wasn't racism. Now, probably the only thing he could have did was he should have said, "Well, you know what? All y'all come on." I mean, he could have just did something like that. Go ahead.
Well, and if anybody was more first of all, Pastor Ray, like any other American, can say, "Keep it moving." And he can look right at the guy in the eye and say, "What'd you say?" "I said, sir, keep it moving." Mm-hmm. You ain't got no grounds for removing anybody for that. But if we were, what are we, the tone police? Oh, Your Honor, I don't like her tone. Well, if there was a tone police incident, it would have been with Laura Lynn because she had told that guy, "You're weird." And I didn't hear that. But when when Jacob French came up to me and he's sticking his phone in my face and on my badge, you can hear me say, "How you doing there, Jacob?" So, I mean, I just wasn't intimidated. They thought that the weakest link in the picture, not because of, and I already said this, and let me just say this. Men don't have to think about it. It's just an automatic calculation. Pastor Ray, for what it's worth, could have mopped the floor with anybody involved there. But they thought because of the racial dynamic and everything else, they thought he was the weak link and he would be the way for them to extract their vengeance. We got to get the Laura Lynn contingency out of here. I hope all that made sense.
Yes. Scott Bradshaw, the director of protective service. And now listen, I want you to just listen to this first part right here. Scott Bradshaw is a highly accomplished federal law enforcement professional with over 20 years of experience. Now, you mean to tell me 30 years of experience right there between both of those guys, and nobody thought, this is a bad look. We shouldn't do it like this. There should be training. I mean, then I see FBI down here. Then I see Secret Service. You mean to tell me he's been on the Secret Service protecting the highest office in the land? I believe I got a photo of him here. Wait a minute. He was protecting Barack Obama?
Yeah.
Now,
and
Everett, speak to this. Please speak to this.
This is the photo that he has to hate because it is a big pat on the resume if you were on the president's detail. So, of course, you want to tout that. I used to protect the president. You want to hire me for 3 times what you'd hire the other guy. But I just have to think that he has to also hate this picture because he's finally made it to the president's detail and he's got to protect the black president. That has to eat him alive. I mean, it's got to eat him alive.
You got to give me a moment, Everett. Listen.
Wait. The same guy that was going to march somebody out, he's really gotten to that low of a place in his career where he's being told, lift that barge, tote that bale by Shannon Kelly. Really? And the predicate for doing so is keep it moving. Ooh, I bet you used to be on Barack Obama's detail. You're pretty important. You can spot them there. Keep it moving.
Listen, I'm going through all of this right here, and this is it's really, really good information, but that contrast as well. He made it to the highest office and has to protect somebody that clearly he's got a problem with race and skin tone right here because he's did this with Pastor Ray Curry. This right here is so he's very good at detecting melanin levels in the room. He's he's good at protecting I'm just saying this is all just
and Pastor Leach, it's unconfirmed, but I've had some pretty high, I'll say high level. I mean, these are people that have been like pretty involved in NRB for a long time.
mm-hmm.
There's some complaints on this guy, and I will tell you this.
Okay.
If boy, a lawsuit would be really cool to happen because discovery is a wonderful thing. But I would just stake the reputation that I have, which is I don't have any. If you could look in Shannon Kelly's personnel file, I think you'd see some evidence of the fact that guy should have been tossed out on the street for racial things a long time ago. And I'm basing that on several things, but you can go to Candy Chan's Twitter, and she's got receipts. So this, if a person's going to act racist on a regular basis, maybe before you put them out as head of security, Jonah, maybe you ought to fire them because that makes you all the more liable for what happened. I talked too long. Sorry, brother. But
no, Everett, you're great. And looking at this a little further, if he has all of this experience, come on, we got FBI here. We got Secret Service. I see a lot of different things here, but that this kind of resume right here, he should be the one in the earpiece talking to everybody else to go get people.
Right.
But he is at looks like the bottom level with this humongous resume under a guy who only has 10 years, just been to the military, and you brought it out. He's been, and this is no disrespect to anybody in the military. Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
But he's been to the highest level, and he's taking orders from somebody who's been to the military. They hadn't protected the president, and he's having to take orders from. So it looks like this may be, he's got a history of judgment problems. Let's go ahead and say that.
Well, yeah. And you would think a guy that has had this level of experience would, when he's seeing Shannon Kelly waving him over, you would think his response would be, dude, I don't work for you.
Come on.
You ain't signing my paycheck. I work for this guy, and our paycheck is coming from NRB. You're just another one of the little people, Shannon. So politely butt out. But that's not how we did it. No.
And that is... Go ahead.
Shannon Kelly says frog, and he goes, jump.
Right. I'm looking at this, and this is all, this is all crazy. And looking at this, that he was indeed right there. I believe he's a little younger or whatever, but that's him right next to Barack Obama, and a black president, I should have, if I could have been there to just say, hey, weren't you with, you covered our black president, just like you were with those tracker comments. Right. But this is interesting information that is here. Now, I want to ask you this right here. You brought up a great thing about, and I did get it from your channel, which was let me go back to that quote here, 95% of big time ministries. Now, why do you feel like, because I believe that these big time ministries are making money, and I want y'all to hear me in the comments. They don't want to deal with regular people, congregants, and all of that. That's like one of their big things. And I know your sources, you have an anonymous source, and we're going to keep it that way. Yeah. But we still have to deal with what was said, which is, it's serious. They don't want to deal with you, but they do want to deal with your money. I saw someone in my comments said that back at one time, they're still waiting on their blessing because when they first got saved, Paula White, and I'm going to call her name out, at another preacher's conference, was telling people through this whole prosperity gospel, which I don't agree with at all, to give their whole paycheck to the ministry. And said that they still haven't got their blessing from it, but that happened to them when they were new in Christ. I just hate that our money is valuable. People's money is valuable, but they don't want to have anything to do with you touching them. How big a problem is that? And what do you think about that even more?
Uh, it's absolutely a huge problem,
Mm-hmm.
and so maybe this is a good time to say this. It's justice for baby lamb is paramount, and addressing this racial just inequity that's paramount. But for me, it's even a lot bigger than that.
Yes.
The idolatry, the abominable idolatry of the Christian megamania mafia industry is on display here.
Yes.
I might as well say this. Pastor Ray is going to be just fine no matter. He's
Absolutely.
not walking around, oh, my feelings got hurt. Yeah, he was insulted. But see, God, the Lord knew what he was doing, Pastor Leach. He had his man in that situation because he had somebody that wouldn't bend, that wouldn't cower, and wouldn't overreact, and played that perfectly. So God used Pastor Ray and Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson to expose these people and expose this Babylonian system for what it is. And so when people are sending the prosperity gospel, I will just go on record and say, I believe that God bless. I believe that I want you, Pastor Leach, I want you to have as nice a car as you need to get around without thinking about it. And I want your house to be nice and comfortable so you ain't got to think about it. And y'all be able to take a vacation now and then, and when the days, rack up enough of them, you're going to be able to retire. I want that. I have no problem with that. I don't even care if somebody has a second house that they've earned. But when people are making themselves astronomically loaded rich off the backs of idolatrous, evil promises to people and misleading them, that's idolatry, and that needs to come down. And oh man, I'm on a soapbox here, but see, what I believe is, here's the thing. I believe in giving, and I want to give where the Lord leads.
Yes.
Not where an evangelist pleads. And I'll say this and I'll shut up. On the Thursday, the second day, Barry Bowen and I, we took some pretty interesting video to show what some of these people are doing with, as Pastor Ray says, Meemaw and Pawpaw's Social Security and disability check. And it is shameful.
Yeah.
The lavishness and the wealth racked up on the back. Why don't you just say, I want y'all to give money to me because I want to buy another jet? But instead you lie to people and say, because if you give money to me or this ministry, God's going to do this for you. And you're promising that you're winning all of these souls. That's it. The lie is being exposed. It's being exposed. So it's a lot. This is way, way, way bigger. I hate to say it. I don't want to be misunderstood, and I'm trying to shut up. I really am.
No.
I'm almost, brother, I'm thankful that this happened because this was God's plan. The Lord is using this to show this is what this whole industry is. It's fake. It's got all of this mixture of stuff carried over, plantation mentality. It's got the whole mega mafia, good old boy system, all of this stuff carried over. It's being exposed. And so I'll say this. I was privileged to meet Jonathan and Susie. I think they are wonderful, wonderful people, exactly what you expect. Daystar is not going to hurt my feelings at all if I see that building bulldozed. That was I apologize, brother. I really do.
Listen, Everett, I want you to quit apologizing. I'm sitting here just soaking it up and enjoying it. I'm just glad to hear somebody else talking like this, because most of my videos, when it's just me, this is the cadence of my speech, when I talk. And I'm grateful because we all have the same heart. Now, I do believe as well that I'm glad that this happened, and I'm glad that God chose Ray Curry, somebody who's definitely strong enough to handle it. And I believe that God believed that God is using this whole situation for a greater revelation. I agree with
Yes.
you. This needed to be exposed. I was concerned at first, just being transparent here, that this would be, like Dr. Yarbrough said, a weapon of mass distraction.
Right.
I was worried that it would be a weapon of mass distraction because I want justice for baby lamb. I do.
Yes.
A child was violated here, and I want justice there. But I was just so concerned that race would be too incendiary of a thing to add to this that would get us ultimately off track. But it
Yeah.
that hadn't got us off track. Now, I agree with you 100%. Matter of fact, I got to give it to you again. I agree with you 100% with what you said. Now, looking at this whole thing with celebrity pastors, with security, that's why I brought up the whole thing with what you were talking about with the quote that you gave from the 95% of big time ministries. I did that because what we're seeing is something that a lot of people see at their churches and don't think about it. Your pastor don't want to have nothing to do with you in a lot of regards. But Johnny Lamb has just come out that she's at $1 million, I think, per year, with her salary, which came from, I think, even with her it's just becoming more and more evident that this was about money and her power. She was making $300,000 before, Marcus Lamb passed away. Now she's at $1 million. I believe that became her God, and she was willing to sacrifice her son to get it. She wanted it by any means necessary. And so even with this willing to power and stuff like that with security, yeah, have you heard the thing about her with the her salary being released? I believe Julie Ross released that information. Just going to touch on this before I go to the next section.
In the article, it seemed to indicate, if I remember correctly, that Marcus' last wishes was that she would be awarded the salary that she already had, plus his salary, which I think I took her to 1.4. And I mean, here's the thing. At a certain point, do you really need more money? I mean, do you? But anyway, I don't have that problem that I have to decide that one. But if I can just sneak this in here, I've wanted to say this for a long time. A lot of what is done in big time ministry, you can call me crazy. I think we're going to find out that some things that are criminal.
Yes.
And in some cases, I'm not assigning different, but with particulars here, but I think you're going to find out that there's like money laundering and a lot of different things. But see, if you were just going to be a criminal, Pastor Leach, that's not quite as enticing. And I'm 100% serious. I'm not saying this to be, this is not, the thing about is, see, a criminal mob boss isn't worshiped the way a Christian ministry mob boss can be. So I think that, yes, the love of money is part of it, but with some people, it's the adulation and the exaltation that is, I think, for some of these people, that is very, very, very addictive. It gets their dopamine senses like firing off the charts. You mix those two things together, and then people will make all kind of compromising decisions to be able to hold on to that. And yes, I said that, and I absolutely mean it. I believe it.
Absolutely. I want to go to this right here. Next subject, we're going to go. We're staying. I don't want to say next subject like we're coming all out of the, we're still in the ballpark of what we're going to be talking about. But I want to add, because I know one of the things that I've been on for the last 3-4 videos about there being a protest. And I just want to say this and then get your thoughts on it. I just believe that the protest, because there are different things about different protests that are being put on, different things like that. And I have no problem with that. But I just believe that there needs to be a level of unity if we're going to do this right with protests. I think that there needs to be, and I'm careful, and I want to go on the record as saying that this is Rock Leach. I'm careful that I don't get into something that I haven't been informed about. I don't believe that it should just be one person said they're going to do a protest with all social media, all influence are going to be there. And that's actually not the case. I hadn't heard anything, don't know anything. And I'm just saying, if there is some level of protest that is happening, I believe that we all need to be on board together. I'm going to go ahead and say that again. we need to all be on board together, because people are not going to sign up for something, get there, and it's something else. Now you've got their endorsement, and it looks like they were a part of that. We need to all be on the same page together. And that's just my thought. I'm just saying that, not knocking anybody. If somebody wants to go and do it, that's fine. But anything that Social Fire is going to be on, Ron Cleese is going to be on, I want it to be a unified effort that we are all on the same page in the decision making of that going on. Everett, what do you think about that?
Well, I have to tell you that I started last night, but I do have to sleep a little bit. So this morning I concluded your episode with Dr. Yarborough.
Mm-hmm.
And earlier today is the first time that I heard actually articulated about a protest. I just about jumped out of my seat in my Ford Escape going up I-75 North. And I'm like, so here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Someone like Dr. Yarborough has experience. I'm not saying he has to do this, but I's dotted, T's crossed, everything done right in an order. You don't play into anybody's hands. But I would say that being set up, my plane ticket is like already bought. I am there in a heartbeat. And if that were to happen,
mm-hmm.
it all points back to justice for baby lamb.
Yes.
And the exposure of an evil system that will go to the lengths that you've seen, even pulling the tired, old, we'd almost forgotten about it, race card against somebody. What is the reason all that happened? Because of the cover-up of the essay of a 5-year-old.
Right.
And so if the greater, and here's the thing, people like yourself and me, we've been in this space for a while now.
Yeah.
We know so much information and so much detail. The greater world out there, even the Christian world, they haven't even heard of this yet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, brother, I would love to see NBC, ABC, CNN, MSNBC, and all the rest fighting each other to cover this thing that is happening.
Right.
And if they stick a microphone in front of your face, I know what you're going to say.
Absolutely.
Justice for baby lamb.
That's right. That is right. That is right. And I brought that up just because I think that we have to be, and Dr. Yarborough did bring that up, which I agree. We have to be organized and we have to have a strategy. I think that we have to know, the purpose can't be skewed in someone wanting to enlarge their platform. There. I'm going to put that elephant out there. I know there will be clout chasers and different things like that. Really, really don't care, because even if you're clout chasing, if the message that's being put there is justice for baby lamb, it still helps, even though people have negative agendas for it. But I think that needs to be something that everybody, including, I believe that this needs to ultimately be endorsed by Jonathan and Susie. What do you think in that regard there, with the endorsement of Jonathan and Susie?
I think you can count on it.
Yeah.
I think if it's done along the lines of what you just described, I think you can absolutely count on it.
Should we do anything? Should we do any protest without their endorsement? That I think that's really the question that I'm getting to.
I wouldn't want to, because like I said, Pastor Ray is going to be just fine. Laura Lynn's going to be just fine. What they have to decide is, what does God want? How does the Lord want them to allocate their time and energy going forward?
Right.
I really think for both of them, just like the what it's cost them and the indignity that they've suffered, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But when that is tied and that becomes like the symbol for what is the catalyst for all of this in the very beginning, it's a system and an evil empire that will cover up the SA of a 5-year-old to protect the same evil system that's paying me $1.4 million a year, that is giving me a bonus of $100,000 for a honeymoon, is letting me use a private jet double the amount of times that it really has to for the same amount of unnecessary trips. This is not what the gospel is all about, Pastor Leach. It's not what it's all about.
Right. I know that I did want to address, because I've been doing it for the last 3 days. Actually, this is the third day. Uh, I don't know, something about 3 days.
Kind of significant.
And so I did want to bring that up today, because I know that we all want justice, and I know that we're all going about different ways of doing it. I know that we're putting together some email campaigns over here that we'll let everybody in on, that we can start, because I want to challenge these ministries who are still a part of Daystar, and I want to challenge them with their silence, because we're gonna talk about their silent being complicit in this. If you haven't stepped forward to say that you don't agree with cover-ups, you don't agree with mismanagement, you don't agree with these sexual allegations, if you have to say something, and they're not saying anything. And so I'm going to make that public. Everybody's hearing me now. I am coming after your pastor if they are on Daystar and have not said anything. There needs to be something said, and they need to leave if they're still apart. Now, you can't tell me the whole council culture is built with that. These stars and stuff like that. If you're saying something, if that star says something, celebrity, we've got celebrity pastors, but if that celebrity says something that is bad, it takes one tweet, somebody to share that, and within 24 hours, they've mobilized thousands who will pull that celebrity down. Why? They counsel them because the organization, the advertisers, don't want to have nothing to do with that. And so I'm looking at the advertisements that are on Daystar. We're looking at these pastors. And that's going to be something that we really come after in this next phase of what we're doing, because I want to push action. I really want to push action. So I'm just saying that because that's our next move right there. And Everett, I appreciate that you've been doing it, but do you feel that we've been effective in this regard as far as bringing the attention, or should we escalate?
Well, what I'm kind of hearing in your remarks and your question is there like a next phase?
Yes.
And my answer, my thought process is there sure needs to be. And that's why I'm saying, if, like, for example, if a protest is organized, I'm going to be that decision's already made. And the reason that I am going to put out and you're the first one that saw those, and they came, but see, they came from the people in the audience. Those pictures of Jacob French and Scott, whatever, those they're headquartered in Nashville. But see, this is a we the people thing, we the flock, we the body. So my answer to your question is yes. And if I can just say this, because if I don't, it might slip my mind. One thing this is going to sound weird, kind of cool about this obvious, overtly racist occurrence that happened is, in a way, it all points back to justice for Baby Lamb and fixing that corrupt and addressing that corrupt system. But see, there is a racial rift in the body of Christ that has existed since, I'm talking about charismatic Pentecostal now, since Azusa Street.
Yes, sir.
And I got to just say, I didn't even know that until I heard Pastor Ray talk about it months ago.
Yes.
And then you go back and do the research, and it's like, holy moly, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that are being addressed here, but the idolatry of the system, because once there's this idolatry and you're chasing this phony gospel that will enrich a few at the expense of the serfs and the peasants, and all the adulation that goes, once that is the coin of the realm, so to speak, all kinds of compromising evil decisions will be made to protect that. And it needs to, and it's going to come down. It's going to come down.
That is so true, because your race plays a big, one of the largest Black Pentecostal organizations, which is the Churches of God in Christ. Well, the Assemblies of God is Pentecostals in that same right, but they used to be one.
Yep.
Race separated. And now you have the Assemblies of God, you have Church of God in Christ, which, doctrinally believe a lot of the same things, but they're separate, and it's a lot of things that happen in that regard. And you're right, race. But this is the thing that I love, and I'm hoping I won't say I'm hoping because I just feel like God is doing that. But we're
Mhm.
bringing the attention to it, but staying focused on what we need to do. I believe everybody's really seeing this as a distraction, but it's definitely worth the conversation. We have to have this conversation, and I'm grateful. Like you said, I'm grateful that it happened to a Pastor Ray Curry. I was just I immediately I went to, man, I'm glad, because I got the invitation too. I didn't go only because I got the invitation late, and then a few other things happened,
Yeah,
a scheduling problem, but I was like, God, if I was there, I'd have done the same thing. But then the enemy was telling me, well, you don't go anywhere without your wife. My wife is my
right.
best friend. She gonna be there. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh Lord, if this would have happened with my wife there, and they would have put a hand on her or something, that would have been a different conversation. I'm just, I'm just being honest with you, Everett. And I believe
I agree.
the enemy knows that. But also, I believe that it was for Pastor Ray Curry to be there, and his wife was not there, which was a blessing because I believe he's a protector for his wife, just as I
Yep.
am. But I believe God did this on purpose to get our attention and to provide revelation for this situation. And I have to keep saying that. So, okay, let's do this right here.
All
What do
right.
you have coming out? What do you have coming out? What's coming next for you? What's going on next with Ohio Freedom?
Well, we're going to just continue to do, what we're doing. I think probably tomorrow night at 7, which is usually my. I want to talk about Joni Lamb's big fat idolatrous ministry life. I'm trying to, no, I want to kind of deal with some of these excesses, and then we have a scandal right here in Ohio. But I can also tell you that I work very closely with Robin Torgrimson of Mega Maniacs, and right here in Ohio, 90 miles up the road,
Mhm.
Rod Parsley and World Harvest Church. Just so many examples,
Right.
and people will say things like, if you could be like me, of course, I never use the financial system and we don't do with banks. And then just today we find uh, you never use banks. Well, then why am I looking at a $3.5 million lien on your church property when you're telling so we got lots and lots and
Wow.
lots of stuff in the pipeline. I'll email it to you. Okay. Maybe I'm letting the cat out of the bag from some of our researchers, but the corrupt brother, can I please say this?
Yes. Yes.
I do believe the heart of the Father wants to release into America a just turn up the power and the volume on everything related to the gospel, healings, miracles, all of that, but salvations and new birth. And brother, this present generation of leadership has proven that you can't be trusted with it.
Mm.
You can, and it's not everybody, but those who they are, they know who I'm talking about. You can't be Joni Lim. You cannot be trusted with
Hmm.
a massive influx
My
of new
God.
salvations and new souls. You can't, because you make it all about a new batch of superstars and this whole demonic superstar celebrity, and you care nothing about. Well, hey, let me end on this. If I'm ending, you care nothing about the little lambs, do
Mm.
you, Joni? Sorry,
That
brother. I didn't mean to get on a
no.
sudden. The Lord wants
No.
to send revival, and we're not ready for it. And God is getting us ready for it. And part of the getting ready for it is we are cleaning out some of this old garbage.
Mm. Mm. You listen, you all. This is Everett from Ohio for Freedom. I was listening, and I'm just going to go ahead and be transparent here. Let y'all know something. When we first got in here, he jumped into the streaming service. We'll just say
Yeah.
that. And we were already, I mean, we came in guns blazing and we was already talking about different things. I was like, wow, I need to go ahead and hit record because it's just so much. And I really appreciate that. I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate that Laura Lynn, Tyler Thompson, what
Mhm.
Pastor Ray Curry's doing, what everybody who has the integrity is doing regarding this, because I want this dumpster fire gone. I know some people will
Gone.
say, Rock, you shouldn't want the whole thing gone. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I
Yeah.
do. And I said what I said. And this is the reason that we're doing this. God assigned me to this. And I don't know about, numbers and different things, but since for your channel or anybody else's channel, because we keep up what we're doing over here. But since I got on the Daystar thing, our numbers are not even where they used to be. And that's okay, because we've been assigned to Daystar to do this. And so I know, because a lot of people are, when they do Daystar, it will get you numbers. You can get numbers, from channels doing this. But this is why I thank God for yourself. I thank God for Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson. I thank God for Pastor Ray Curry, because this is not about subscribers. This is not about an algorithm on a YouTube. Right. When we need to be searching the algorithm of our hearts. Woo.
Yes.
We need to be really saying, what does God think about what we're doing, and what does God think about Daystar? And we need justice for baby lamb. We've gotten so big on our own name, image, and likeness. We're so concerned with them and not focusing on him. And so this is the thing that I want to make sure that the church quits being so quick to say amen and not quick to help a man. And so once again, I want to say thank you for being here. Everett, the legendary, that's what I've been calling you, Everett from Ohio for Freedom. And you all, I'm grateful for this, but I ultimately want to know what you think about this. I want you all to get down in the comments and let me know your thoughts, because we talked about a lot of things today and we brought up a lot of information. And I want to make sure that we talk about all of these things, because this needs to continue to be called out. We've got to continue to give this attention so that we can get justice for baby lamb. I want y'all to get in the comments and let me know your thoughts. Let's go.